I'm Nastascha Harduth. I'm a director at Cliffe, Dekker, Hofmeyr, and I'm the sector head of the corporate debt, turnaround and restructuring sector. So I didn't ever think that I would be a lawyer. I went to go and study a BSc in chemistry and biochemistry. And after I graduated in my honours year, in the last term, we went on an excursion to a real lab, a lab that was as big as a main suite bedroom with lots of machines, but only one person loading samples into the machines and getting out readings that they had to interpret. I went to my dad and I said to him that I know that he paid for 4 years of varsity, but this was not going to work because there weren't any people that I could connect with if I were to pursue this job. My dad said, maybe I should pivot to law. And I gave it a thought, and I did. And then I started another 4-year degree in law this time. And that's how I ended up in the legal profession. When I started my articles, I was placed in the insolvency practice area as my first rotation. And when I returned as an associate, the Companies Act was promulgated, and that incorporated business rescue into our legal framework, which really caught my fancy. Because with business rescue, you can turn obstacles into stepping stones and trials into triumphs. I've been involved in several business rescues, some of them high-profile business rescues. And I can tell you it's not an easy environment, but it is a very meaningful environment to be involved in. And business rescue is a really useful restructuring tool because it allows for so many stakeholders' interests to be protected, not just a singular category of stakeholders. For instance, employees can go home with their job secured, shareholders can retain value, and creditors can make some recovery on debts that would otherwise have been written off in a liquidation. What business rescue does is it places a moratorium on any legal proceedings that creditors may bring against a company in business rescue. In other words, it provides necessary breathing space for a company to pursue options available to turn it around and turn it into a going concern. Alternatively, allow options available to recover greater value for creditors than they would have received in liquidation. And that is significant because in business rescue, a company is essentially one step away from liquidation, which focuses the minds of all the creditors so that they can work together as a team to try and rescue the company and recover as much value as they possibly can. One of the most essential qualities that somebody needs if they are interested in a turnaround and restructuring profession would be grit, because it's not an easy environment to operate in. As I mentioned, a company is one step away from liquidation. And what you have to keep in mind is the summit while persevering through all the obstacles and the journey. And I have found that the greatest catalyst for grit is probably finding the right mentor. And the mentor that you would find is not necessarily the person you think of as a mentor. It would be somebody who's interested in your career growth and somebody who would be willing to sponsor you. In other words, a sponsor is somebody who would speak for you when you are not in the room and who would be willing to raise your profile when you are not there to do so yourself. And your mentors and sponsors are not necessarily the people that you work with. They can be found within your wider network. And networking isn't about going for teas and coffees and drinking champagne with strangers and small talk. It's about rolling up your sleeves, getting involved in your profession, meeting people and creating meaningful connections.